everyone. Welcome back inside Central Health Training Center for another episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And coming up on today's episode, Hall of Fame safety Steve Atwater joins the show. We'll take a look back at Thursday night's game versus the Chiefs and look ahead to the Broncos returning back to Empower Field at Mile High this Sunday. All that and more coming up. Joining me here on today's episode of Broncos Now is Hall of Fame safety, Mr. Steve Atwater. Steve, thanks for joining the show.
Hey, Sid, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Pleasure is mine. I love Tuesdays because it's the one time we can sit here and just talk Broncos football. It's my favorite day of the week.
Oh, I know. I just wish we could talk about some victories.
I know. Well, hopefully, maybe we'll see it this weekend. Yep. I know they'll be looking for a win at home. Haven't had one yet this year. So looking at that, Steve, I want to take a look back at Week 6 in Kansas City, but also look ahead too. So let's start with the defense. The defense, they looked a lot better this past week. They really stepped up. I know they've held opponents without a touchdown in 9 of their past 10 trips into the red zone. So what specifically about this unit, what improvements did you see from them on Thursday that you hope to see them continue?
Yeah, well, I saw everybody flying around. They were playing with passion. The secondary, I thought this was one of their best games.
Yeah.
They, especially being involved in the run, and that they did a great job of not getting too deep. The linebackers did a better job of getting more depth in their drops in pass coverage. So yeah, it was a good game for them. It wasn't perfect, but no game is going to be perfect. But it was much improved from some of the previous games that we played this year.
Yeah. How do you hope to see this defense, I guess, just build off of that performance? As, like we mentioned, they'll be back at home this weekend to face the Packers. What areas do you want to see them really hone in on and continue to improve? Yeah,
well, just, continue to go out there and play with passion. Mm-hmm. When I'm looking at defenses, I always see, like, when you have good run defense, your defensive linemen on run plays, they don't get too deep into the backfield.
Yeah.
And I still see some of our guys on run plays getting a little bit further up, and that kind of messes everything up. Everyone, if you can stay horizontal, mm-hmm. everybody stay horizontal, you'll be much better against the run. Guys will be able to see where they fit in the runs and that. So I'm hoping that we can improve on that. But, again, they did much better this week than they have in some previous weeks. And I really like the progress.
Yeah. Well, I know head coach Sean Payton, he said that the reason this defense has really been so efficient in the red zone is because of their ability to kind of slow down, specifically the Chiefs' run game. So
yeah, they did a great job with that. And Pacheco, he's really good running back, and they're going to feed him the ball.
Right.
And he wasn't able to have the success. Our guys were coming up, filling the holes, had the right gaps this time, mm-hmm. and it just looked like a totally different defense than I won't say totally different, but just a much improved defense.
Definitely. I know Nick Bonito, he talked earlier in the week, Steve, about this team just understanding their assignments better. Did you see that in terms of the defense?
100%, because in a few of the games you see before the play,
mm-hmm.
a person look at somebody and do the hand gesture, and
right.
you know that somebody is not quite sure of what their responsibility is. So glad to see they're in those playbooks. They've gone over it. They've asked the coaches all the questions that they needed to ask,
mm-hmm.
and they were ready to play.
Yeah. Well, Steve, looking at this offense, we saw them really struggle in the passing game versus the Chiefs. I guess what were your just main takeaways from their performance on Thursday night?
Yeah, well, the Chiefs have some great defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And they have an aggressive defense, and when you come to play them, you have to be at your best. And
mm-hmm.
if you're not, then they're going to take advantage of you. And I didn't think we had our best game. Really all around offensively. I thought the run game was decent.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to get some nice runs, and there were some holes in there from time to time,
mm-hmm.
but it just wasn't consistent enough, to beat a really good team like the Kansas City Chiefs. So back to the drawing board.
mm-hmm.
In the NFL, no, like I heard a lot of players say, nobody feels sorry for you, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
And you have to go out there, put the work in during the week, make sure everybody's putting the work in, and come out and we got to give it another shot. And no use of getting depressed, no use of getting mad at the fans for talking noise about you.
Mm-hmm.
You may as well just go to work, put your head down, and eventually it's going to get better.
Mm-hmm. Well, Steve, I want to introduce a new segment on this show. I want to do kind of like a player focus. If there's anyone specific that's kind of stood out to you, a player spotlight, if you will. So is there one guy on this team that's really stood out to you to start the season or last week that you've really liked?
Yeah, young guy, Daquan McMillan, the cornerback. He's playing that slot position. He's playing there until K'Wan Williams gets back healthy.
Right.
But, man, he stepped in. I thought he played a really good job. He played really well in training camp, too. And I like his motor. I like his physicality. I like his mentality. And he gets to the ball quickly. And
he's fast.
Yeah, he's fast and he's physical. So that's a young player that I think that really has a bright future. Man, he just has to continue to improve and continue to play hard.
Yeah, I like it. Good choice, Steve.
All right, there we go.
Well, Steve, given the 1-5 record here, I know head coach Sean Payton, he said the focus this week is really going to be internal on the players in this locker room, not so much on the opponents each week. So, being a former player, what is kind of your mindset heading into these weeks, given where the team's at this point in the season?
Yeah, I know exactly where the players are, But guess what? You still got to go to work, and you got to have the right attitude. You can't come to the building with the negative attitude, thinking, woe is me, that, we don't have a chance. You always got a chance. You always got a chance. And as football players, you can always improve.
Right.
And I wouldn't focus so much on everyone else getting better. I would say every individual has to look at themselves and look themselves in the mirror and look at your own game film and make sure that you're doing everything you can to be the best player that you can. And, the thing that's always talked about is teamwork, but if you're not giving it all as an individual, then it's hard to be a great team.
For sure.
And so, I would say every person just – dig deep and become the best player that you can be. And, you can start in the middle of the season. If you haven't been practicing well, guess what? You can start right now. You start right now. You can improve today. You can vow to hustle to every play in practice.
Right.
Vow to go home and get into your playbook and make sure you know every single adjustment that needs to be made. And go in that weight room, lift a little bit more weights, do some more shoulder shrugs, everything you got to do.
Yeah.
But you can get better throughout the season. And so when you look back from this point, just say 5, 6, 7 weeks from now, you can say, man, I've improved a lot and our team has gotten better.
Right. Steve, looking back at your time here, back in 1994, I don't know if you remember.
Whoa. See, you go back into the archives.
Yes, of course.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if I remember. Go ahead.
Steve, if you do remember, that team started 1-5.
Ooh,
so
yes, I've been here.
Yeah, you have been there. So I guess, what do you remember?
How did we finish that? What was our final?
I believe it was 7-9.
Okay. Well, whatever it was. I know that we fought, and I remember it being some difficult times.
Yeah.
I remember being on the field in a game, and I think we were playing against the Raiders, and they were running, and we couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
And no matter what we did as a defense, we couldn't stop them. And I remember looking at our guys in the huddle saying, look, guys, you're playing for respect now. We're regardless of what the outcome of the game is, we're playing for respect. So let's go out there and let's just knock the crap out of somebody. And, so that was my main goal at that point. I'm going to knock the mess out of somebody. So after the game, they're going to come up to me and say, hey, man, we kicked y'all's butt, but you played a good game.
Right. Was that kind of the team's mindset? Like, how did you guys turn things around?
You know what?
After that start?
I think everybody has a different mindset.
Yeah.
I just speak for me. That was my mindset because, at the end of the game, win, lose, or draw, I was playing for respect too. Right. I mean, although obviously I wanted to win the game, if we didn't win the game, I would feel much worse if my opponent thought that I quit on the team and at the end of the game I went over to shake their hand and like, man, get out of my face. You didn't even play hard. Because I don't think good players respect players that don't play hard. So I always wanted to have that mutual respect from my opponents that they know that I gave it all that I had regardless of the score.
Yeah. Well, Steve, a couple weeks here at home for the Broncos before their bye week. They face Packers this Sunday, and then the Kansas City Chiefs will be right back here in Denver. Yeah. 18 days. They go from playing the Chiefs Thursday night to now playing them in 2 weeks here Sunday night. That's a tough stretch here for the Broncos. play them back to back, pretty
it's
much.
It's not tough. It is what it is. And
Right.
that's what I'm hoping our mentality is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got a tough Green Bay Packers team coming in, and we got to face one of the best teams in the league again. And when we have the opportunity to do that, and knowing that we played them, fairly well, especially defensively, and our offense, they've kind of been our strong point up to this point, and hopefully they can get back on track to where they can put some points on the board, more points on the board. So it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to show the world what we have.
Yeah. Well, team will be back at practice tomorrow as they look to prepare for that Packers game this Sunday. Steve, appreciate you joining the show today.
All right. Thank you, Sid.
Always a pleasure.
Go Broncos.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow for another episode. I'll see you all then.